Do you ever wake up in the morning and feel like the world has moved on without you? That hollow ache in your chest when you realize that the person staring back at you in the mirror isn't the vibrant soul you remember. That crushing weight of wondering if your best years are truly behind you. I want you to meet Margaret. At 78, she would wake up each morning feeling like a shadow of herself. Her children rarely called, her body ached in ways she'd never experienced, and every sunrise felt like another reminder of all the things she could no longer do. She told me once, through tears, "I feel like I'm disappearing, becoming invisible to the world and even to myself." But something changed for Margaret 6 months ago. Something so simple, yet so profound, that it transformed not just her mornings, but her entire approach to living. She discovered 5 powerful lines, ancient wisdom from Shaolin Master Shi Heng Yi, that when spoken each morning became her lifeline back to purpose, dignity, and inner strength. Today, Margaret wakes up with anticipation rather than dread. She moves through her days with clarity rather than confusion. And the remarkable thing is, nothing about her external circumstances changed dramatically. Her children still live far away. Her body still has its limitations. But her spirit has been reborn. The wisdom I'm about to share with you comes from centuries of Shaolin tradition, refined by Master Shi Heng Yi into 5 simple yet transformative statements. These aren't just words. They're daily medicine for the soul, a practice that can restore your sense of self when the world tries to diminish you. If you've ever felt invisible, forgotten, or like your voice no longer matters, I invite you to join our community of wisdom seekers. Hit that subscribe button now, because what I'm about to share could become the most important 5 minutes of your day for the rest of your life. The hidden crisis of later life. Before we dive into these 5 transformative lines, I need to address something that many people don't want to talk about. There's a hidden crisis happening in our communities right now, a crisis of spirit among our elders that goes far deeper than any physical ailment. You see, our society has created a narrative that aging means becoming less relevant, less capable, less worthy of attention. This narrative seeps into our consciousness like poison, convincing us that our wisdom doesn't matter, that our experiences are outdated, that our contributions are no longer valued. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a gerontologist I spoke with recently, shared something that stopped me in my tracks. She said, "I see patients in their 70s and 80s who are physically healthy but spiritually dying. They've internalized society's message that they're past their prime, and it's killing them from the inside out." This is why Margaret's story matters so deeply. Like so many of us, she had fallen into what Master Shi Heng Yi calls the trap of diminishment, the gradual surrender of our inner power to external circumstances and societal expectations. But here's what the ancient Shaolin masters understood that our modern world has forgotten. Age is not about decline, it's about distillation. Like a fine wine that becomes more complex and valuable with time, the human spirit in its later years has the potential to reach heights of wisdom, compassion, and inner strength that younger years cannot access. The 5 lines I'm about to share with you are not just morning affirmations. They are spiritual technologies developed over centuries by monks who understood that true strength comes not from the body's capabilities, but from the mind's clarity and the heart's openness. Line 1, I am grateful for this new day. The first line Margaret learned to speak each morning was, I am grateful for this new day. Now you might be thinking, that sounds too simple. How can gratitude change my life? But let me share what happened to Robert, an 82-year-old widower, who felt his life had lost all meaning after his wife of 58 years passed away. Robert told me, For months after Sarah died, I would wake up and the first thought in my head was, why am I still here? What's the point? I felt guilty for being alive when she wasn't. His mornings had become a daily confrontation with loss, with emptiness, with the crushing weight of a future he no longer wanted to face. When Robert began speaking this first line, I am grateful for this new day, something remarkable happened. Not overnight, but gradually, like dawn breaking slowly over the horizon. He started noticing small things, the way morning light filtered through his kitchen window, the sound of birds he'd never paid attention to before, the simple miracle of his heart still beating steady and strong. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that gratitude is not about denying pain or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about recognizing that even in our darkest moments, we are still here, still breathing, still capable of experiencing wonder. When we start our day by acknowledging the gift of another sunrise, we shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. But here's the deeper wisdom. Gratitude for a new day is also a statement of possibility. It says, I don't know what today will bring, but I'm open to receiving it. It transforms us from passive victims of circumstances into active participants in our own story. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Dr. Sarah Chen's research at Stanford shows that when we begin our day with gratitude, we literally rewire our brain's default mode. Instead of scanning for threats and problems, which becomes our habit as we age and face more losses, we train our minds to notice opportunities and blessings. Robert now tells me, I realize that every morning I wake up is Sarah's gift to me. She would want me to live, really live, not just exist. So I start each day by thanking her, thanking God, thanking life itself for giving me another chance to love, to grow, to matter. When you speak these words, I am grateful for this new day, you're not just practicing gratitude. You're declaring your intention to show up fully for whatever life offers you. You're choosing hope over despair, possibility over resignation. Line 2, I accept myself as I am. The second line is perhaps the most challenging for many of us. I accept myself as I am. Dorothy, a 74-year-old retired teacher, struggled with this one for weeks. She told me, how can I accept myself when I can barely walk without pain? When I can't remember names like I used to? When I look in the mirror and see this old woman I don't recognize? Dorothy's struggle is not unique. We live in a culture obsessed with youth, with perfection, with the illusion that we can somehow stop the natural process of aging. We spend our later years at war with ourselves, fighting our changing bodies, mourning our lost abilities, rejecting the person we've become in favor of who we used to be. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that this internal war is the source of most human suffering. When we reject parts of ourselves, we fragment our spirit. We cannot find peace while we're at war with our own reality. But acceptance is not about giving up or settling for less. It's about making peace with what is, so we can work with our reality instead of against it. It's about recognizing that every line on our face tells a story of laughter or tears, that every limitation we've gained might also represent wisdom we've earned. I remember when Dorothy had her breakthrough. She was standing in front of her bathroom mirror one morning, about to begin her usual litany of self-criticism, when she stopped herself. Instead, she looked into her own eyes and said, I accept myself as I am. And then she added something beautiful. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm perfectly human. That day, something shifted. Dorothy stopped trying to hide her gray hair. She stopped apologizing for needing to sit down more often. She stopped feeling shame about forgetting names. And instead, she started asking people to remind her with a smile and a laugh. The ancient Taoists had a concept called Wu Wei, flowing with life rather than fighting against it. When we accept ourselves as we are, we stop wasting precious energy on battles we cannot win and start directing that energy toward growth, connection, and contribution. There's profound neuroscience behind this too. Self-acceptance activates the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest mode, which promotes healing, reduces inflammation, and enhances our immune system. When we stop fighting, line 3, I choose to focus on what I can control. The third line speaks to one of the greatest sources of anxiety in later life. I choose to focus on what I can control. Let me tell you about James, a 79-year-old former executive who was driving himself to despair, worrying about things beyond his influence. His adult children's marriages, the state of the world, his investments, his health trajectory. He would lie awake at night consumed by anxiety about all the things that could go wrong, all the outcomes he couldn't control. James came to me exhausted, not from physical exertion, but from the mental and emotional energy he was spending on worry. He said, I feel like I'm drowning in my own thoughts. Everything feels like a crisis I should be solving, but I can't solve any of it. This is where the ancient Stoic wisdom that Master Shi Heng Yi incorporates becomes life-saving. The Stoics understood that there are only two categories of things in life, what we can control and what we cannot. And they discovered that peace comes from focusing exclusively on the first category. What can we control? Our thoughts, our responses, our choices, our attitude, our effort, our kindness. That's it. That's the complete list. Everything else, other people's choices, the weather, the past, the future, our health outcomes, global events, lies outside our sphere of control. When James began speaking this line each morning, I taught him to follow it with a simple exercise. He would make two mental lists, what I can control today and what I cannot control today. Then he would commit to investing his energy only in the first list. The transformation was remarkable. James stopped trying to manage his adult children's lives and started focusing on being the kind of father who offers love without conditions. He stopped obsessing over market volatility and started focusing on what he could do today to enjoy the resources he had. He stopped worrying about his prognosis and started focusing on how he could make each day meaningful. This isn't about becoming passive or uncaring. It's about directing our precious energy toward where it can actually make a difference. Master Shi Heng Yi calls this the warrior's wisdom, the understanding that true strength comes from knowing where to fight and where to surrender. The physiological impact is profound. Chronic worry about uncontrollable events keeps our bodies in a constant state of fight-or-flight stress, which accelerates aging and undermines our immune system. When we redirect our focus to what we can actually influence, our stress hormones normalize, our sleep improves, and our energy returns. James now tells me, I realized I was trying to be God, controlling everything, fixing everything, worrying about everything. But I'm not God. I'm just a man who can choose to be kind today, to be present today, to make today count. And that's enough. That's more than enough. When you speak this line, I choose to focus on what I can control. You're not just managing anxiety, you're reclaiming your power. You're choosing to be an active participant in your life rather than a passive victim of circumstances. Line 4, I will respond to challenges with calm and wisdom. The fourth line is where we transform from reactive to responsive. I will respond to challenges with calm and wisdom. Let me share the story of Maria, an 81-year-old grandmother who was known in her family for explosive reactions to stress. When her grandson got in trouble at school, she would panic and create drama. When her doctor delivered concerning news, she would catastrophize and spiral into despair. When technology frustrated her, she would lash out in anger and feel ashamed afterward. Maria told me, "I feel like I've lost control of my emotions. I used to be the calm one, the one everyone came to for advice. Now I'm the one who makes everything worse with my reactions." This is a common struggle in later life. As we face more frequent challenges, health scares, family crises, losses, technological changes, we can develop what psychologists call emotional dysregulation. Our nervous systems become hypervigilant, primed to react rather than respond. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that the space between stimulus and response is where our power lives. In that pause, that breath, that moment of choice, we can access our accumulated wisdom rather than our conditioned reactions. When Maria began speaking this line each morning, she was essentially training herself for the day ahead. She was reminding herself that challenges would come. They always do, but that she had the capacity to meet them with the grace and wisdom she had developed over 8 decades of living. The key insight here is that calm and wisdom are not about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. They're about accessing our deeper resources, the patience we've learned from raising children, the resilience we've built through surviving losses, the perspective we've gained from witnessing life cycles. I taught Maria a simple practice to accompany this line. When faced with a challenge, she would pause and ask herself 3 questions. What would my wisest self do in this situation? What does my experience teach me about this? How can I respond in a way that honors both my feelings and my values? The transformation was beautiful to witness. When her grandson got in trouble again, instead of panicking, Maria sat with him and shared a story about her own childhood mistakes and how her grandmother's calm response had helped her learn and grow. When her doctor delivered difficult news instead of catastrophizing, she asked thoughtful questions and made a plan. When technology frustrated her, instead of lashing out, she would take a breath and ask for help with patience and humor. This line is particularly powerful because it acknowledges that challenges will come. That's not the question. The question is how we will meet them. Will we meet them with the reactive patterns of our younger, less experienced selves? Or will we meet them with the accumulated wisdom and hard-earned perspective of our later years? The neuroscience here is fascinating. When we practice responding rather than reacting, we strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for executive function and emotional regulation. We literally become wiser with practice. Maria now tells me, "I realize that every challenge is a chance to show myself and my family what 8 decades of living has taught me. I'm not just a grandmother who worries. I'm a grandmother who has wisdom. These challenges are my opportunities to share that wisdom." When you speak this line, "I will respond to challenges with calm and wisdom," you're not just managing stress. You're stepping into your role as an elder, as someone who has earned the right to meet life's difficulties with grace and perspective. Line 5, "I am open to learning and growth, no matter my age." The fifth and final line breaks perhaps the most damaging myth of aging. I am open to learning and growth, no matter my age. This is where I want to tell you about Arthur, an 86-year-old retired engineer who had convinced himself that his learning days were over. He would say things like, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," and "At my age, what's the point of starting something new?" Arthur's mindset is tragically common. Somewhere along the way, we've accepted the lie that learning is for the young, that growth stops at retirement, that our brains become fixed and inflexible with age. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating the very stagnation we fear. But neuroscience has shattered this myth completely. Dr. Michael Merzenich groundbreaking research on neuroplasticity shows that our brains remain capable of creating new neural pathways throughout our entire lives. In fact, the mature brain has certain advantages for learning: more context, more connections, more wisdom to build upon. Master Shi Heng Yi understands that the beginner's mind, what Zen Buddhism calls shoshin, is not just for beginners. It's for anyone who wants to remain vibrantly alive. When we close ourselves off to new experiences, new ideas, new growth, we begin dying while we're still breathing. When Arthur began speaking this line each morning, something remarkable happened. He started noticing things he wanted to learn. He became curious about his granddaughter's artwork, about the birds in his garden, about cooking techniques he'd never tried. That curiosity became the gateway to a renaissance in his life. At 86, Arthur learned to use a smartphone to video call his great-grandchildren. He took up watercolor painting and discovered he had a natural talent he'd never explored. He started learning Spanish because he'd always regretted not being able to communicate with his neighbor's family. He began reading about philosophy and discovered ideas that transformed his understanding of life's meaning. But the most profound change wasn't in what Arthur learned. It was in how learning changed Arthur. He became more curious, more engaged, more vital. His eyes lit up when he talked about his new discoveries. His family noticed that he seemed younger, more energetic, more present. This line is revolutionary because it reframes aging from a process of decline to a process of evolution. It recognizes that every day we live, we accumulate more experience, more context, more capacity for wisdom. The question isn't whether we're too old to learn, it's what we want to explore next. The science backs this up beautifully. Learning new skills increases the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which promotes the growth of new neurons and protects existing ones. Older adults who engage in regular learning show better cognitive function, improved memory, and higher life satisfaction. Arthur now tells me, I realize that the day I stop learning is the day I start dying. Every morning when I say this line, I'm choosing life. I'm choosing to stay curious, to stay growing, to stay becoming. Age isn't about what I can't do anymore. It's about what I haven't done yet. When you speak this line, I am open to learning and growth, no matter my age. You're not just embracing education. You're choosing to remain vibrantly alive, to honor the incredible learning machine that's your brain, to recognize that your greatest discoveries might still be ahead of you. The ripple effect of daily practice. Now you might be wondering, how do 5 simple lines create such profound change? The answer lies in understanding the cumulative power of daily practice and the ripple effects that emanate from internal transformation. When Margaret, Robert, Dorothy, James, Maria, and Arthur began speaking these lines each morning, they weren't just changing their thoughts, they were rewiring their neural pathways, shifting their biochemistry, and transforming their energy field. This internal shift began to influence everything in their lives. Family members started noticing changes. Margaret's daughter called more often because she enjoyed their conversations. Robert began forming new friendships because his gratitude made him magnetic to others. Dorothy started mentoring younger women because her self-acceptance gave her confidence to share her wisdom. The ancient Chinese have a concept called QE, life force energy. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that when we align our morning thoughts with wisdom and intention, we generate positive qi that influences not just ourselves but everyone we encounter. This isn't mystical thinking, it's quantum physics. Our energy fields are constantly interacting with and influencing the energy fields of others. But perhaps the most beautiful ripple effect is intergenerational. As these individuals transformed their relationship with aging, they began modeling a different way of growing older for their children and grandchildren. Instead of seeing aging as decline, their families began seeing it as ripening, as distillation, as the culmination of a life well lived. If you're feeling inspired by these stories and want to join our community of wisdom seekers who are redefining what it means to age gracefully, please subscribe to our channel now. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos on the science of spiritual longevity and the art of conscious aging. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Which of these 5 lines resonates most deeply with your heart today? Simply comment with the number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and let our community see that we're all on this journey of conscious aging together. Your participation reminds others that they're not alone in seeking wisdom and growth at every stage of life. Before you go, if this message has touched your heart or opened your mind to new possibilities, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more content for our community of conscious agers, wisdom seekers, and spiritual explorers. Together, we're rewriting the narrative of what it means to grow older with grace, purpose, and power. Remember, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can begin your day with the old stories of limitation and decline, or you can speak these 5 powerful lines and step into your role as an elder of wisdom, a beacon of grace, a testament to the beauty of a life fully lived. The choice, as always, is yours. Choose wisely, choose powerfully, choose to begin again every morning with these words of wisdom from Master Shi Heng Yi. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Until we meet again, may your mornings be filled with gratitude, your days with purpose, and your heart with the unshakable knowledge that your best chapters may still be unwritten.